Do you guys like TV? Well, I love it, and I watch way too much of it. But fortunately, I have not gone blind from watching all these shows like my parents said I would. Is my vision terrible? Yes. Can I see without contacts? No. Is that TV's fault? Hell no. That ability to not see anything without glasses comes straight from God, and I appreciate him for that. Anyway, speaking of TV, did you see in July when the Emmy nominations came out? Netflix actually topped HBO. And HBO has been getting the most Emmy nominations for 17 years in a row. And you know, it was kind of embarrassing because HBO has been producing original content for 20 years. Netflix started making original content only 5 years ago, and they already surpassed them. Now, at the same time, AT&T was taking over Time Warner, which is where HBO resides under. And you know, because they're taking over, there's a new AT&T executive that's gonna look over HBO. And he was probably prompted by the embarrassment at the Emmys, but he said that he wants to make HBO more like Netflix. That means more hours of content, more spending, more shows, just pumping more and more, just like Netflix does. Now that kind of worried me, because I did not want HBO to turn into another Netflix. Now, Netflix's content strategy is pretty annoying. I mean, it's a great strategy and it's a great stock, but at the same time, yes, very annoying. Because they are just throwing money at it. In 2018, they're expecting to spend $13 billion on new content. That's crazy. That's a lot of money. Now, it'd be awesome if all these shows were great, but that's not the case. Most of them are trash. I mean, some of their original content is so bad, you're wondering how it even got made. Like, even Stevie Wonder could see that should not have been shown to anyone. So really, they got a ton of content on there, but you can't trust it. Like, every once in a while, you'll get an amazing show on there, like the Peaky Blinders. But most of the time, nope, it's just garbage. You know, I always wait to see if a show even survives a few seasons on Netflix before I jump into it, because I know most of the time it's gonna be bad. And I mean, like, even their good shows like Altered Carbon that has the naked people and violence that everyone loves, they're still not that good. They're just pretty corny. But I mean, I watch it because of the violence and nudity, but you know, I don't enjoy it as much as other shows. HBO, on the other hand, now that's quality content. Shows like Game of Thrones and Westworld, see, that is the solid naked people violence that we all deserve. And you even have the best comedies on there like Curb Your Enthusiasm, which I heard Larry's getting naked next season, so that's exciting. But the point is, you could trust what HBO is giving you. They're the best curators in the game. So anything they put out, I feel pretty comfortable watching because I know I'm gonna like it. So the last thing I wanted them to do is become like Netflix, where they're just pumping and dumping shows and I just lose all trust in them. But Matthew Ball on Twitter has a great thread about how HBO actually does need to become like Netflix. And in that thread, he has a bunch of links to articles that he wrote that explains this more, but I'll link to that thread in the comments below. Make sure you check it out, but I'm still gonna explain to you what he said in this video. So the first thing to realize is that HBO isn't an independent TV brand like we think it is. It's not just all original content. Actually, the opposite is true. They are hugely reliant on the films that they license. They're still kicking it old school, where 75% of people watching HBO are watching movies, and 40% of their subscribers only watch the movies. They're not even watching the original content. And at least, you know, HBO has much better movies than Netflix. But by 2022, HBO is actually gonna lose rights to a lot of these movies. And that's because of industry consolidation and other factors, but they need original content to offset that loss. And the thing is, all media consumption is moving to a la carte. Like, you basically pick what you wanna subscribe to and you subscribe to that. You're not doing the entire TV bundle that comes with all these separate channels. But if you're gonna subscribe to a single provider like HBO or Netflix, that one provider has to have a ton of content. And they need to have enough content that you can't just subscribe for a month and binge watch whatever you want and then cancel. Because if everyone's doing that, then the economies of scale don't work and the business will fail. So you need to have multiple hit shows so people can't just watch one and leave. Now, I personally won't even subscribe to a service for a month because I'm a little too Indian and a little too cheap. So I just go around begging for my friends, like, do you have a subscription I could use? Or I just go on one of those sites that streams it for free. But I know you guys are better than me. Another thing is that HBO is kind of poor compared to Netflix. They make as little as 10 cents per viewer per month in some markets. I compare that to the $10 per month that Netflix is making. And that's a problem because more than half their users are just watching HBO through their cable subscription. So that's why they're getting paid so little, and also those users aren't on HBO's platform. So Netflix has its own platform, so they have all these analytics and data that tell them what shows are popular and what aren't. Which is why content that I think would be terrible, like all those Adam Sandler movies on Netflix, are actually really popular, and they can see that. So they know to produce more of that. And they also get all this data from users so they can easily recommend what they should watch next. But HBO, with so many people not on their platform, they're not getting any of that data. So they'll never know how great Adam Sandler movies are, even though they're not. hot. Yet another problem here is that HBO isn't really international like Netflix is. And to really get the scale that they need and to be able to compete in the content with Netflix, they do need to be international. And again, the TV bundle is going away, where all these competitors used to be bundled into one. So like Starz, HBO, Showtime, they'd all be on the premium package, and by being together, they would all benefit, because you buy one, you get them all. But as we go into a la carte, they all become direct competitors. And then of course, aside those, you got Apple, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon. And like, what is Starz gonna do in this market? No one watches Starz in the first place. Or do they? I don't know. Is Power on 50 Cent fans here? Or American Gods, I guess that was good, but still, it's Starz. Nobody really watches it. They're not gonna survive. It's gonna be tough for them to survive in this new market. Especially when someone picks one main platform, they're gonna spend most of their time there. So if they have a Netflix subscription, that's where they'll spend most of their time. For every other subscription that they have after that, like HBO or Hulu, they're spending less and less time. I mean, there's only so many hours in a day you could watch TV, right? Even us lazy Americans. And if you don't have this scale, then talent becomes a problem too. And by talent, I mean the people you're actually enticing to come onto your network and create these awesome shows. And the more scale you have, the more money you have, and the more you could pay these people. So like Netflix is getting some of the best producers in the game. So for example, they gave Kenya Barris a deal, who's the guy who made Blackish. Now my hope is that on Netflix, he makes another show called Kinda Palish. And you know, that would be for the people who don't get onto the sun too much, like gingers. What are their problems? I wanna know. And then Netflix got another deal with Shonda Rhimes, who makes those extreme dramas like Scandal or Grey's Anatomy. Now for Shonda, I hope her show on Netflix is just extremely inconsequential. So for example, maybe the plot is like two dog trainers just duking it out with their puppies. Both of them just trying as hard as they can to get their individual pup into the local county competition. Where at this competition, rumor has it, they'll be broadcasting live to community access television. See, I think that kind of drama with extremely low stakes could be interesting. And if anyone could do it, Shonda can. Now HBO still gets the best of the best people as well, but a lot of their deals are hooked up through studios. And when those deals end, you could bet Netflix is gonna come through and shell out a bunch of money to try and grab those people away. See, in this thread, Matthew laid out all these problems to explain why HBO does indeed need to become like Netflix. But he also says that he thinks that they could actually do it. First, because they've been making great original content for years. You know, they started out in '97 with Oz. That was their first show. And if they've been doing it for that long, they can continue to do it. They're experienced. They're the pros. And a lot of the time, they actually wanted to make more content, but they were restricted by Time Warner and their short-term profit goals. So you know, some of the most popular shows on Netflix like House of Cards and Glow, HBO actually had to pass up on them because of budget restraints. And we also know, like I just said, that HBO is still at the top right now. They're still attracting the best talent. And with the international market growing as it is, there is a lot of room to expand. And if you just look at the last 2 years in the most competitive landscape in TV history, HBO has grown more than at any other time. So you can't knock their management and hustle. They've been the top for years for a reason. They're very capable of making this shift. It's gonna be interesting to see though what HBO does and how that's gonna affect Netflix. Stocks wise, I would not invest in AT&T, which is, like I said, the parent company of HBO. That stock is just a dog. But if you look at Netflix, which I find myself in often, you do gotta be aware of competitors like HBO, because Netflix is a very sentiment driven stock and investors gotta believe that it's gonna be on top eventually. But if you have HBO competing and they're doing a good job, well, you gotta watch for Netflix's price to just drop from things like that. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on how this media landscape shapes up. And if you like this video and you learned something and you wanna keep tracking this with me, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that bell for notifications of future videos. We publish 3 a week, all business and market related. So subscribe and I'll see you in the next video. Stay fallible out there. Bye.